Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 33 of the Digital Deep Dive Show. It is 2025. We have new artwork, a new show, and I'm fired up to be here with you. In this episode, we're going to talk about news that's been happening over the last couple weeks, some really fantastic updates from my good friends over at CB Insights, and of course, where you can find me in real life and online over the coming weeks. But before we jump into the show, I want to remind you that you can find this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and of course, LinkedIn. And if you like to read the newsletter, check us out on LinkedIn and our newly launched Substack page. With all that out of the way, let's get into it. So, the first story of the new year is an updated article that Google put out a couple months back, and then they updated it kind of over the what I'll call the holiday window. It's not necessarily the break, but it's where people go to have holiday parties, take vacations, finish up year ends, and mostly just don't do a lot of deep diving. And the story that I really liked, sent to me by my good friend Sean Wood, who's been on this show over at Human Pilots AI, was 321 real world AI use cases from world leading organizations. And so this was published by Google. And essentially, it broke it down into the following groups: customers, employees, creatives, data, code, and security agents. And they're trying to break the use cases down. And kind of the key takeaway for me is that, AI has been out for roughly, let's call it like modern AI, aka large language models, for a year and a half, almost 2 years. CEOs and CFOs have spent a ton of money, most of that going to, or a large portion, I should say, going to OpenAI, either directly or through Microsoft. And they're looking for an ROI, and they're not getting it. Or a lot of them are complaining that they're not getting it, I should say. And Google is trying to say, hey, check out our Gemini product. Hey, check out our notebook product. And here are use cases that can help your team leverage large language models and other AI solutions to create value. And I think this is where you're going to see the back half of 2025 and definitely 2026 going into, in terms of saying, let's not just think about this as rewriting emails or responding to emails faster and more efficiency, but looking at sort of unique use cases in functional areas that can benefit from automation and insights that it can basically do master if this, then that, then do this. If you have not tuned into this show through the LinkedIn newsletter, you can go to all of the sort of stories. And in my newsletter, you can definitely go and click the link to find all these use cases. What I'm going to be doing is over the next couple months looking through all of the use cases and kind of sharing my favorites and the ones that I'm using both personally that I'm seeing are used in the marketplace. And I'd love to get your inputs into which use cases you're seeing in and around the marketplace. Next up, we're going to talk about AI leader Grammarly is acquiring Coda and bringing Coda's new CEO, which you don't see often. So during the holiday break, right before everyone sort of disappeared between that Christmas and New Year's window, Grammarly, which has a roughly, I think, $13 billion market cap, acquired Coda for about, stock only play. And Coda had, I think, roughly a $1.2 billion market cap. Don't quote me on those. But the integration will combine Grammarly's trusted AI and communications with Coda's versatile production suite, enabling smarter, faster workflows with Sushir Matora. And I'm pretty sure I'm just terrible at pronouncing this guy's name. I'm definitely going to meet him one day, and he's going to judge me. Bringing him over from Coda over to Grammarly. My guess is, based on that logic, also many of the board members are going to come over with him. But it's interesting because when I think about Grammarly, I think about the ability to do some analysis and provide recommendations. And then over the last year and a half, they've been able to help you with prescriptive and predictive writing, similar to like what some of the other large language models can do. When I think about Coda, I really thought Coda was going to be acquired by the likes of Salesforce or Oracle to kind of be the competitive to Microsoft Office Suite or Google, Workspace or whatever they're calling it these days. But it'll be interesting to see how these two companies come together and if they sort of keep the products separate or how they integrate the two, or if this was more of just a capital kind of aggregator of wealth where they just wanted market share and dollars as they go to a combined growth strategy. But over time, I think we're going to see more and more for this. I will say I did spend quite a bit of time over the last 6 weeks trying to get up to speed on Coda. I've been using it to help prep for this podcast and my social media calendar. And there are things that I love about it, things that I don't like, and things that I just don't know, but I like more than the things that I don't know or don't like. So I'm keeping at it. And if you are trying to understand what Coda is, think about it as like if Excel, Word, and a database all came together and made a magnificent product together. So I highly recommend going and checking out both Coda and Grammarly. I am a constant user of both, I should say, today, and I think you'll enjoy them. And I'm looking forward to seeing what products and services that they bring to market as a collective unit. At the beginning of the show, I mentioned that we had launched a Substack page, and I'm becoming increasingly interested in Substack. And I just like the sort of longer form content profile. It's like what Blogger maybe should have evolved to, and heck, if I could go back, even MySpace. Um, but Substack has expanded their video access to all publishers, enabling real-time audience engagement and collaboration with fellow creators. To utilize this feature, you have to have at least 10 free subscribers after streaming, recording, and AI-generated clips are available. So as I'm recording this episode, I'm using a solution called Riverside, and I think I've talked about it on this show. And I've been using it for about 6 weeks, and I like it. I record a video, and then afterwards, either when I do a standalone show or when I have guests, it gives me those AI clips. And it's fantastic. The fact that Substack is offering a similar solution that can do it inside the app is pretty fantastic. Since I just launched my Substack yesterday, I don't have 10 subscribers. I don't even think I've shared on X or Instagram or LinkedIn that I have it, but plan to. But looking forward to diving into these features and continuing to see the strength of the Substack solution. I think I just started doing the math, and like one of my favorite people to listen to is or I shouldn't say people, or I should say persons, is the All In podcast. And Shamath has his Substack. And I was just looking at how many people he has at like, I think $100 a month subscriber cost. And it really adds up where you can make a small business and team come together with the funding that you can get from some really great subscribers. So I see the value for some of these really big content creators, and kudos for Substack for rolling out these features. I know that A16Z is a big investor in these, and I know A16Z is also a big investor in X and in SpaceX and in other Elon properties. So I wonder if down the road you'll see X take on or acquire Substack, because it feels like it's a nice fit as X tries to be a super app. Only time will tell. Introducing core AI platforms and tools. So this was an interesting story coming out of the Microsoft camp. Microsoft has established a new engineering division called Core AI. It's a platform and tool led by Jay Parkins to develop an AI-first application stack that integrates advanced AI capabilities across all layers of the application stack. The consideration reflects an approach by Microsoft to support IT and digital leaders as they navigate the complex and modern technology landscape. The focus on developing agentic applications, those that pose memory, permissions management, actionable capabilities, opens up new opportunities for businesses for sure. And basically, when I think about this, it's really targeting somewhere between large language models, the promise of RPA or ML, however you want to think about it, and AI and the magic that is this. And I think basically my guess is Microsoft's getting phone calls from customers saying, "Hey, we spent a lot of money with you and we're struggling," right? Because there's a ton of change management here, ton of challenges that we're seeing up and down the value chain. And it's smart of Microsoft to get ahead of this, and I'm not surprised. And I think organizations are really smart to be thinking about it from a functional or use case standpoint and thinking about what are the things that we can automate and kind of help streamline, operate 360, meaning like all day, every day, human in the loop, and how do we bring this to life? And I think what you're going to start to see in the same way that we saw Salesforce do the app exchange, NetSuite has it with Suite Worlds or Suite Apps. I think you're going to see Microsoft have third-party providers build apps. They're basically like AI, like mini companies or mini apps sitting on Microsoft solution that leverage large language models plus their Power Apps plus their app ecosystem to operate and execute different workflows. And when I think about the value chain, I think about the sort of 5 major buckets, right? So that's, basically sales and marketing on the left and customer service on the right. Then as we move sort of inwards, inbound logistics and outbound logistics, and at the core, finance and operations. And I think you're going to start to see different businesses take advantage of this platform that Microsoft and Salesforce is definitely building as well. And other companies are going to build sort of solutions across those sort of 5 major pillars of the value chain. This, of all the things that Microsoft is doing with AI, has my attention the most. Certainly Fabric, certainly the relationship with OpenAI are critical, but I'm finding this the most interesting to see how much of this does Microsoft bite off internally versus how much do partner ecosystems get involved, and where does this go? I think the Microsoft Fabric conference that's coming up will be sort of an indicator of things to come, and looking forward to hearing more on this topic soon. All right. The AI Proficiency Report is our last story from news around the globes. So I'm a huge fan of Scott Galloway and the Prof G podcast and Pivot with Kara Swisher that he does in co-hosts. And through both those podcasts, namely the Prof G podcast, I've learned about Section. And Section is started on, and these are my words, I'm not sure if I got this 100% right, but started on as online learning, and now they're sort of moving into quasi consulting, advisory, and sort of benchmarking and insights. And they provided sort of what I call a CTA asset of like a 10-pager overview on the AI proficiency with the ability to do some benchmarking if you're interested, and you got to pay for that. But one of the things that I thought was really unique and interesting was just the amount of data that they captured. I think it was something like over 5,000 companies, and assessing your current AI proficiency and helping them set clear goals and crucial efficiency AI integrations. Now, we talked about the story above about some of the challenges businesses have had with AI adoption, change management, and then finding the right use cases. It's not just like you can deploy AI and say, wow, the magic happens. I give you $20, give me back $1,000 of it efficiencies. No, you've got to like actually work at it, have use cases. You got to teach, your workforce how to use it. You got to share those use cases, and it's going to be interesting to dive deeper into Sections reporting. I've read the sort of CTA sort of 10-page report, and I'm interested to learn a bit more about what else they have to say in and around AI. But the point of me bringing this up is I wanted to link to Sections reporting, and I wanted to not give away too much of their kind of juice of the report, and recommend that you not only check out this AI report, but you also subscribe to their AI kind of newsletter section of Section, and start to get to know the brand. I'm starting to get to know it, and I'm a big fan. So hats off to Section for the report, and I highly recommend you going and checking it out. All right, the deep dive for this week is one of my new favorite sort of weapons, which is CB Insights. So CB Insights started off as a research and insights platform. So they produce knowledge articles and market trend analysis, as well as account and market insights and analysis. And in the last 60 days, they've moved from 1 million accounts on their platform to 10 million. They've deployed a large language model, and they've also deployed what is called scouting reports, which is a summary of an account, competitors, what's going on, and sort of the account, and a little bit of what's going on in the sector. I love the scouting reports, and in their large language solution that's sitting on top of the whole platform, I'm starting to develop a series of prompts that not only help me prepare for individual internal calls, calls with clients, calls with prospects, calls with kind of market leaders. And obviously, the data is there, and it's really getting to how creative you are with your prompting. And I gotta say, I'm pretty proud of my prompting, just in terms of like my ability to prep for calls and how much it's helping me and members of my team. So if you've never checked out CB Insights, I'm highly recommending that you go do this. They are not paying me for this, but I've had the ability to experience their platform, and I'm loving what I'm seeing. And I'm loving what this means for all of these data companies. And this is both thinking about your own company as well as sort of these third-party data companies. Like I'm thinking about like everything from Bloomberg to Gartner to Yahoo Finance to any of these companies when they start to throw on large language models, and you can buy tokens or access or more advanced queries. It's going to be pretty special to see how amazing these platforms can be in terms of giving you the insights in the way that you want. All right, so let's jump from the breakdown, the deep dive, over to where we can connect in real life. So this show was supposed to come out last week, and unfortunately, between going to conferences and getting sick, I did not publish it. So last week, I did have the opportunity to go to the Built World's 2025 FinTech conference that was also kind of co-connected with the 1871 incubator here in Chicago, also a fintech one. The difference being the Built Worlds one is construction tech, and the 1871 is much more broad. And I got to say, it was really great to spend 2 days at the 1871 facility and see folks fly in from around the world and be a part of the city I love, which is Chicago, and really see the ecosystem of tech flourishing here in Chicago. There's a lot of great material available on both the Built World site and the 1871 site from that conference, and I highly recommend checking it out. There were at least 15 different startups from across the 2 days, from pre-seed, seed, and Series A, that I was very excited about, and I think showed great promise both from a investor standpoint in terms of just like what the market is looking at and for and what they're rewarding, as well as just like excited to see new, fresh ideas bringing to market. I recommend checking out both sites for what's coming in 2025 from a tech standpoint. Coming up in January on the 28th is the ACG Annual Market Trends Breakfast. I've gone to this for the last 2 years. Looking forward to attending this. This is typically, I don't know, a 2 or 3 hour breakfast where they have an economist running through kind of last year and then kind of this year's sort of hypothesis. I find this breakfast to be really enjoyable, both in terms of like reconnecting people you haven't seen since either the holiday party or, kind of the October, November before everyone went crazy with deal flow. Jeffrey Korenzinski is going to be providing the economic update. And so looking forward to attending that. And then heading down to Atlanta for a Built Worlds AI and ML conference. Very excited about this. Obviously, there's a ton of interesting things going on in construction tech and the broader AI and ML marketplace. Just coincidentally, I know that the AGC partners, as well as the ACG South events, are also going along in Atlanta and Alpharetta at the same time. So if you're listening to this, I will be in Buckhead the same week as those two conferences. So if we've connected at one of those two sort of events or chapters, give me a buzz. I will be in the Atlanta area. I'm going to wrap up the show by saying happy 2025. Happy to be back. Happy to be putting out this show. We put out a lot of episodes last year. We're going to do more episodes this year. We're going to try to do a weekly show, and we're going to try to have more guests on this year than we had last year, talking about technology, emerging tech, existing tech, how businesses are using technology to enable growth and operational efficiencies. All right. As I close out the show, I want to remind you, if you plan on being in Chicago, my home city, let me know. I'm always downtown I shouldn't say always, but I'm often downtown at least Wednesdays every week, but can Zoom and also meet people for coffee and come down. It's just a chain ride away. Going to be on the road a little bit over the next 2 weeks, both in New York as well as Atlanta. So if you are going to be in either one of those two cities over the next 2 weeks, let me know and let's make sure we connect. And going to be spending a little more time sharing insights and education and awareness on X, Threads, and LinkedIn this year, trying to kind of keep an even playing field on all three and just see which one performs better. I think I've loved LinkedIn newsletters and I love the features that LinkedIn has provided. I will say X is rolling out some crazy new features at an accelerated pace. And I'm interested to see when people finally jump back over to X in a meaningful manner, beyond sort of like I'll call it like social or maybe political, but more from a business lens standpoint, and using it as a growth vehicle for businesses. Because I started to see some features where I'm like, hey, that's pretty exciting. But with that said, thank you for tuning in. If you like this show, subscribe on LinkedIn and over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And don't forget to connect with me. The show is available as well on Instagram if you're on IG. And don't forget to check me out on X and LinkedIn at Read Daily. And with all that said, I'll catch you next week on the show.